Hello, hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Ray Bradbury. I hope all of our U.S. audience had a great extended Thanksgiving weekend. I took the long weekend off from recording videos for you, but Don luckily was here to keep you busy throughout that long weekend. But we're back at it today, doing another episode of Let's Talk Ray Bradbury. Let's Talk Ray Bradbury is the show here on Let's Talk where since 2018 I've been aspiring to read and review each of the roughly 600 short stories written by the great Ray Bradbury. To this point, we've done 230 some. So we are moving right along with this long-term project. Today we're looking at the story 66, as in Route 66, which is a 2003 story which appeared in the Cat's Pajamas stories. It is the fifth story from the end of this collection. The way that these reviews work is I do a brief synopsis of what happens in the story and then sort of wrap it up with a very brief analysis of what I got out of the whole thing. I mainly do this for my own entertainment. Hopefully, on occasion, some of you will find some use with these reviews as well. Maybe you're reading these stories in school or for your own amusement, much the way that I do. All right then, so in this story, 66, the narrator reveals that he is a motorcycle policeman, and he reveals that he is about to tell us a tale which involves a murder mystery, vengeance, and perhaps even time travel. So along a 100-mile stretch of old Route 66, over the course of a few days, he finds 5 different bodies, and they're dressed much in the same way that Okies would have dressed during the Dust Bowl while they were on their trek to a better life in California. The stories... or the sight of them reminds him of the stories that his parents had told him, because his parents grew up in the Dust Bowl, so it was relatable to him that these were Okies, these were in fact what he was looking at. The case troubles his dream for many days, and then by chance, one day when he is in the chair at the barber's shop, he's thumbing through a magazine and he sees a picture, and it shows 5 Okies, and in fact, they are the same 5 who he has just recovered their bodies along the highway. And he finds out that, in fact, these are not real people. Well, they are real people, but they were in fact actors posing for a photo in the city, and something since then has befallen them. So he gets back out on patrol. He's back out on Route 66. And as he's riding along, a dust storm blows in and forces him to slow down, get off the bike, and wait it out. At this point, an old man begins coming up in an old car, sort of strapped with boxes and possessions. It looked very much like what a car would have looked like during the Dust Bowl period. And finally, it sort of putters to a stop, and the man begins talking to him from the window, and he says, I killed 5 people. I want to turn myself in. And interestingly enough, the officer is not sure whether he wants to take him in or not. He says, well, if you want to turn yourself in, the police station's another 10 miles down the road. But he tells this story of the old man having driven along, seen these people, and they were in his way, and he stopped, and he sort of warned them. He'd move slowly, but they never got out of the way. They refused to move, and so he hit them, and then later decided to scatter bodies along the long stretch of the highway. He said that some people don't deserve the clothes they're wearing or the dirty faces they have, and this is what the narrator thinks as well. The point being that he came to the realization that these are in fact not real people. They were in fact posers, they were actors, and they hadn't been through the suffering that the narrator's parents had been through, or this man himself. So this is an interesting, if not fully satisfying tale. Interesting subject matter, but unsatisfying because it's all pretty much exposition, and you really don't get a whole lot of opportunity to feel the rising tension, the rising mystery, and then sort of get a catharsis at the end. A lot of that is missing. The old man in the car, sort of appearing out of nowhere, reminds me a bit of Field of Dreams. The narrator hints that this could be a time travel story. It's not entirely clear whether that is the case or whether this old man is a survivor of the Dust Bowl, and perhaps he's telling... He has these feelings about his victims because of them not going through what he did, but it also sort of leaves open the possibility that perhaps he really was from the Dust Bowl, and in that case, it could have been sort of like the episode of The Twilight Zone where these people traveling by wagon train in the 1800s into the desert, sort of walk out and find a paved road and realize that they'd traveled through time. But, still an interesting message in the story with a little bit of content to ponder. In this world, we create a lot of entertainment and sometimes art that recreates pieces of the past. Sometimes that recreation is sort of just pure shallow bubblegum, and it doesn't really, it uses the trappings of the past, but doesn't recreate the feelings of the past or sort of instill in us any empathy for what the people who are in these situations were going through. On other occasions, in the best of arts, you recreate the past situations like the Dust Bowl, and you do it well. You're able to create empathy in us and in the viewer, and sort of make us feel for the plight of the victims in the story. And I think that's the true power of art. Bradbury, his story here falls slightly short of doing that. The message still gets through, but I didn't feel it as powerfully as I would have liked. But again, if those memories, the episode of Twilight Zone, Field of Dreams with the ghost coming from the past, there's a lot of potential here. Maybe the story was at some point adapted, I don't know, but I think it would be ripe for adaptation. It's the type of story that works well like that. I find that sometimes the most adaptable stories are the ones that don't necessarily come across fully on the page, but they have good bones, and they're the type of story that can be fleshed out and sort of works better in different mediums and not necessarily in the short story form where Bradbury worked so commonly. All right, then, that was 66, as in Route 66, written in 2003, and it is the fifth story from the end of the Cat's Pajamas stories from 2004. Next time, which may be tomorrow, we'll be looking at a story called A Matter of Taste, written way back in 1952, but not published until this collection. Thank you for watching. If you care to, leave a positive or constructive comment down below. Tell me what you thought about the story, and I will see you again soon.